All right, Neil here with Liquid Force. I have the pleasure of working with Active Water Sports today. I want to talk to you about the Liquid Force Nebula foil board. So the really cool thing about this board is it's a very high-end shape, but it's made out of our very durable construction. So it's a little more price conscious than our carbon fiber constructions, but it still has a lot of the same shapes and benefits that you get out of a higher end board. The only kind of downside to this construction is it's a little heavier, so it's going to feel a little more cumbersome when you're actually pumping it compared to our carbon fiber layups. But if you start looking at the shape, you've got a little wider flat spot in between the two chined rails, which is going to make it stable when you're getting up and onto foil. But we still have pretty aggressive chined rails and then a very aggressive kicktail. So what that's going to allow this board to do as you're up on foil and you're pumping, if you were to touch the water as you're turning, instead of hooking up and turning, this is going to want to deflect and get back up on foil without any extra grab. The other thing we do to this shape is we really dish out the top, and we add a pretty aggressive kick to the tail. And so this gives you almost instant toe and heel reaction by having your foot really sunk down into the deck of this board. We also carbon strip it from the tip to the tail on both the bottom and the top to give it a little extra rigidity so you don't feel any flex when you're actually pumping this board. We give you a couple inserts in case you want to mount foot straps or bindings to it. Other than that, this is just a killer board. We make it in two sizes. We make it in a 3/8 and a 4/2. The 3/8 really for your high-end foilers, someone who just basically wants a standing platform. The 4/2 is going to be a little more easy to ride if you're, let's say, advanced beginner up to intermediate pro. So there are two different ways that we actually build out these Nebula packages. You can either do the Nebula with the alloy constructed mast, or you can do the Nebula with carbon constructed mast. On top of that, you can also do it with a 120 horizon wing or a 150 horizon wing. The difference between these two front wings, the 120 is going to be a little bit knifier, a little faster from edge to edge when you're actually like surfing it in the wake, but not quite as stable when you're pumping it. So this is generally for a slightly smaller rider or a rider who's really looking to aggressively turn in the surf wake itself. Our more popular size is going to be the 155. As you can see, there's more of a measurement of the cord from the front to back, which is going to make it more stable as you pump it. But we still add a nice amount of down curve to the side wings, which still gives you a good pivot point to really carve this thing. I ride both of these wings interchangeably. I like them both very much. The biggest difference that I've found is the 120 turns harder. The 155 turns almost as hard, but it's definitely a little bit more stable. This is a highly customizable package. You can do it in a 3/8 or a 4/2 Nebula. You can do it with aluminum or carbon, and you can do it with a 120 or a 155. The alloy mast is definitely a little bit heavier, and it's a two-piece construction. So there's actually a slight hinge point here where the collar which mounts onto the foil board itself, and then the mast is screwed into the collar. So this is, by design, unfortunately, there's a little bit more of a hinge point, which makes it not quite as responsive as a carbon mast, which is significantly lighter and is all one construction. So there's no flex point right here where the mast meets the board. So it has a more high-end feel, specifically when you're leaning into a turn. You can really feel the one-piece construction of this and the lightweight feel of it, and just the fact that carbon fiber has kind of a snappier feel underneath your feet. They're both 28-inch masts. So as far as like actually pumping and riding, they're gonna feel similar from edge to edge. The biggest difference is weight and strength. The aluminum mast is gonna be a little bit heavier and a little less responsive, whereas the carbon fiber mast is gonna be lighter and more responsive underneath your feet.